This course is about entrepreneurial endeavors and being successful in terms of marketing your product or service for a smaller organization. And I wanted to take you through some of the elements of product service demand research just as a primer for your course. So it's important to understand who your target market is, how they view your product and its competitors and substitutions, and gather all of the information and your understanding and your experience and wad it together into a strategy that can be put in the category called go-to-market. You want to be ready to leverage your knowledge to successfully position your product or service. But you don't want to spend a fortune doing it. You just want to do it smart, work smart, not hard. So the reason it's critical to have this information is because other companies are gathering that information also. So the more you know about the target market than your competitor, the more likely you are to either get to market quickly or to be successful with your marketing efforts. You want to understand how the buyer views the product in terms of solving some buyer need, want, or problem. Buyers don't buy things just because they look pretty on the shelf. They buy them because they solve a problem for the buyer, whether it's a service or a product. And remember, of course, now more than ever before, we can secure instant gratification in getting our service or our product. Social media and strong efforts to engage with the buyer have made our go-to-market and marketing strategies move more quickly. So getting the information about your target market and moving quickly to be the primary offerer of the product is critical. So the reason to apply market research, and you'll use market research throughout this 8-week period, is to understand not only the landscape, what it's like out there, and you've seen SWOT analyses where you understand changes in legislation may allow for a new product or a different way of marketing it. There are trends, there are global mega trends, there are regional trends, there are local trends, there are social media trends, there are generational trends that you want to address. I always explain to people, I really, truly wish I understood how valuable Zoom was going to be before March 16 of 2020. We were already using it and loving it. And but it's very hard to see into the future that we would become dependent on it. And that is certainly a trend. It's called business disruption or economic disruption. And the pandemic was disruption, which created a market opportunity for Zoom to pretty much own the market. And of course, Microsoft Teams is now playing some version of catch up, right? Gathering information also helps you understand what your expectations or your client's expectations might be in terms of sales. You can use research to understand product extensions, service additions or enhancements. You can use it to understand how likely people are to request, want, or demand a product or service. And finally, once you are marketing, you can get some measure of ROI using research. You can understand how awareness has changed, how, of course, research, scan research would show purchases and how they have changed, but it's very useful. So understanding your audience, there are several elements you can look at. I always encourage you to look at these 6 elements. So you have revenue metrics. So that's pretty obvious. And then marketing programs. So you have several marketing programs that you're going to implement. Which ones are most successful? Which ones give you the most bang for the buck? Customer profitability. So do we have customers who repeat their purchases, who come back over and over again? Amazon has cracked that code, right? So once they set up Amazon Prime, people were laughing about others who were paying $79 a year to have Amazon Prime. I think the price is double now, but Amazon Prime gives you overnight delivery. You don't have to get in your car and go get something. It just shows up at your doorstep. And so customers have spend a lot of money each week, month, and year, and they have done this for years, and they continue to do this. So the lifetime value of each customer, that's one of the goals that Amazon has, is to increase the value, the annual value, and then of course the lifetime value. They want to keep you, the customer, but they also want them to spend more with Amazon rather than, let's say, Walmart or Lowe's or any of the services for groceries and so on, right? Web analytics, we're all familiar with the application of web analytics to understand how many facings, how much show, how many impressions we're making with our target audience, and how our competitors are doing the same thing. And then, of course, product performance, sales margins, and then finally, brand preference, equity, and health. So not only do we look at brand equity studies using research, but also brand preference. We want to understand, how does our ice cream shop stack up against Baskin Robbins and perhaps another ice cream shop that's just down the road? How do you do that? You use research. So the goal here is to understand your audience and how they think about their product, the purchase, their need, the solution or solving the need, even what other substitutes are out there that might do the job just as well and perhaps for less money or more quickly. So this is the research process. And we'll go through this in the course, but just so you have that high level picture, you always want to understand what you're researching. What is it you are trying to find out? Because that dictates the kind of research you're going to do and how much of it you're going to do and with whom. Based on those objectives, what is it you want to accomplish with your research? You develop the plan, you collect and analyze the data, and then, of course, you take that information, encapsulate it in a presentation, of course, a report, a summary, and then you use that to drive your strategic tasks, not only your strategy, but your tasks. So let's look at the objectives. So you want to make sure you understand whether you're just you're measuring how competitively positioned we are, or you're just looking at elements like, what is the basis for using a certain product? How does it make the target market feel? Why do they use it? If it's bath salts, maybe they just use it because they want to escape, or maybe they use it because they're dirty. I don't know, but you can find that out with your research, of course. The second part is developing a research plan. So this is where you do your desk research, or what I call it environmental research, where you look at trends, you see what Gartner's talking about, you look at what Pew Research is discussing, what Google Research is doing, what McKinsey is studying. That's secondary research. That's research that's already been done, and it might not be perfectly applicable to your need, but it'll be close. Then you want to look at primary research, which is research that you conduct that is exactly targeted and designed to meet your particular research needs. And then you decide how you're going to do this. Are you just going to go watch shoppers in the grocery stores, which, by the way, is a fascinating way to observe what's going on? Are you going to do focus groups or interviews with users? You can do those online on Zoom. Perhaps you're going to do, an A/B experiment or surveys. You want to understand behaviors. You want to do phenomenology. There are many ways to gather data. So quantitative, which is where you're understanding we have 17% market share, give or take 5%, and maybe we want to increase that, by 2, 3, 4%, right? How many people are familiar with this? Perhaps 14% are familiar with us, and we thought at least 45% of the market was familiar with us. But if you know that only 1 in 7 persons knows who we are and knows our brand, then that's going to drive some of the marketing. It'll be about getting our name front and center as a primarily recognized brand, as opposed to trying to put more products in shopper baskets, right? Qualitative helps us understand how people feel about something, what their perceptions are, what their feelings or their experiences or their processes are. And then, of course, your environmental research, that's competitive intelligence. What are other competitors doing? How do people make their decisions? Is there secondary research out there that might help you understand trends? And usually there is research out there like that. Then you want to gather the data. Now, the secondary data you can gather pretty easily, not easily, but I mean, you can gather it without actually having to write a survey instrument or an interview guide. But you want to understand what you need to get answers to, ask the questions, get the answers, and then analyze the results of it. So, because you want to be able to take action. We always use the term actionable insights. You want to be able to take action on the research that you have gathered. So once you interpret the results as if you were doing this for a client, in other words, and that's what the client always asks, what does it mean? So as you interpret the results, you're like, so where do we go from here? If we know that 70% want the product and 10% know who we are, what does that mean for us? It means we need to increase our brand awareness if we're going to get this product into a large percentage of that 70% who want this kind of product's hands, right? And that's how you decide your marketing strategy and your target market. And please remember that your target market is not, well, anybody can use it. Your target market is the segment, and we do segmentation research. Of course, sometimes you'll do this, is the market that is most likely to purchase quickly and immediately. So you don't have to educate them on the value. You don't have to convince them that they need to buy it. They're looking for it already, and you show up and they snatch it up and keep going, right? That's your first target market. So be sure to use data. If there's data at a company, like their customers and how many years they've been with them and how much they spend a year, use that data. Then do the industry scan, the environmental scan, to understand what's going on in your space or your client's space. And then you might even assist your client, your company that you're working with, in establishing methods of regularly listening to customers besides over the counter. Do they do a satisfaction survey every year? When somebody spends money getting their floors refinished, do they send a survey afterwards to ask about the courtesy of the people and if the, how well the job measures up to the client's expectations? And would they hire them again? And would they refer the client again? That is information that can be incredibly useful to the company. You don't want to ask frivolous questions, only those things that you're willing to take action on. But that builds your database, that builds the client's set of knowledge so that they know then what else to market. Maybe the next thing they market is, I know with like floor refinishers and painters and plumbers and electricians and air conditioning, they now send you a picture of the person who is going to be visiting you, usually standing in front of one of their beautifully painted or wrapped vans or trucks, so that you know who will be at the door and you can recognize them and let them into your home. And that came out of research about concerns about safety, because, believe it or not, women were making these decisions and having these people come into their homes, and they wanted to feel safer. And so now you get a picture of the person who will be working in your home, so you know who they are. That came out of research. Kind of fun. All right, so always look for an answer to your question. How does the target market view your product and service in every aspect, in terms of their need for it, in terms of its availability? Is it a premier product, or is it something that everyone should have along with forks and spoons? Is it hard to buy or to choose, like energy plans? Is it easy to buy, like Amazon Prime, right? So those are the that's kind of a quick overview of research and what you will be doing in this course. I hope this is helpful and look forward to working with you in the course.